All right, Chris. Well, this is episode 15 of the Steadfast Podcast. We're in Matthew 13, and we just had Mother's Day. That was awesome. All the coffees and stuff.
Yeah, that was so cool.
Yeah.
That was it was cool. That was Kylie's idea, and she kind of put the whole thing together. And then Maddie made the syrups, and just it's really cool to watch like people use their gifts and what's on their heart, and then to see like how much of a blessing it was to like the moms and really to everybody. So because we all got some of that coffee.
Yeah. We just had to wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, it was awesome though. I know. I heard so many people were stoked on it. So yeah.
Awesome. Oh, so Matthew 13, you want to read it for us?
Yeah. So we didn't do like, I guess what you would call, I don't know, a traditional Mother's Day message. Although it works. It totally works for on theme, and I was stoked on that when I was looking at it. So yeah, it's 3 verses. So Matthew 13 verses 44 through 46. It says, "The kingdom of heaven is like treasure buried in a field that a man found and reburied. Then in his joy, he goes and sells everything he has and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant in search of fine pearls. When he found one priceless pearl, he went and sold everything he had and bought it." So, yeah.
So on Sunday, you had mentioned that there's a couple ways to look at these two because they clearly go together.
Right.
And there was the first way that people commonly interpret it is that Jesus has found the treasure.
Mm-hmm. And he gave up everything to redeem the treasure, which is the church.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah.
So
Jesus would be the man that gave up, put off, to come and become a man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one speaks of he comes down from earth, he kind of rescues the people, he pays the debt on the cross, and then he has this prized possession.
Right.
And then the pearl,
which is true. He did.
Yes, yeah.
All of that is true. Yes. Yeah.
And then the pearl is with the merchant. So Jesus is the merchant in this, if in that interpretation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So okay. And then the second one,
which is probably the one I would lean more towards and kind of spent more time talking about, is what I view to be an invitation and opportunity to join in, become part of the kingdom, to how this is what it looks like to what's been described as like there are all these different people, there's different hearts, there's good and bad players, there's the kingdom, you look at it as growth and even potentially distortion, all this and that. But I see this as like hey, if you want to be part of this is because I think a lot of the wording lines up with exactly what he asks people to do when it comes to following him. So, yeah.
So in this, in the second interpretation, the man is us.
It's us. It's the believer. It's the one who. Well, so what's interesting is in the first one, the treasure, he's not looking for it. And it just shows up, and then he responds. The second one is this merchant is looking for it. He's like on the hunt, and I think we have those stories. Yeah. We could say everyone's always looking for treasure, like in a sense, like, but they're not actively thinking they're going to find it. But if you saw it, you would go, oh. Like, I got to do something about that, Like when you're a kid, you find $1, you're like, oh my gosh. And then you have all these like warnings about people like they put drugs on the dollar or whatever. And, or you back in the day, this was the worst. You'd pick up $1 and it was a track.
Yeah.
That's kind of like
$1 million.
maybe the wrong kind of, what's even better than $100 bill is you're like, oh no, that might not send the message you think it's sending.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think in the first one you have a guy not necessarily looking for it, but as soon as he finds it, he goes, oh, I'm going to do everything I can. I mean, there's nothing that's going to stand in my way of redeeming that, of being part of that. And then the other one, it's like, he knows exactly what he's looking for. And when he sees it, it's valued higher than anything he could even. There was no assessment. It's like priceless. You know, when you hear the word priceless, I mean, we might say priceless, but there's a lot of things where you go like, there is a price on most things, but this would be, if something is actually priceless, it's kind of like mind-boggling.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, because there is, I mean, everything at some level has a price.
Right.
But the idea of prices is something that is so valuable that it will perpetuate more value. You know,
right.
It's not fixed. Yeah. I was thinking during the sermon when I was listening, I was thinking about, maybe he was even the guy that was going and getting these pearls from, he was like harvesting them or something like that. But because the idea of, him finding it in like some sort of trade because he's a merchant. I know these are parables, but the idea is kind of interesting that he's found it and he needs to purchase it.
Right.
So
he would have to give up, if he's a pearl guy, he'd have to give up all his pearls.
Yeah.
And we talked on Sunday, and every commentary I read said that pearls were a high commodity, almost like to the point of like diamonds now for us. So they were seen with so much value. I mean, there's even stories about people like dissolving them in vinegar and drinking them, and because they were so like, especially like when you have like the 24 karat gold cake or something like that, or whatever, you can edible gold or whatever. It's like, what could be more special than having metal in your body? But this would be a easily understood parable in light of the culture. They would be like, oh, a priceless pearl, that's insane. But he would have to give up all of his other priced pearls to gain it because it would be worth so much. Anyway.
Yeah, so it's interesting because you're pointing out that there's really the person is coming from two different perspectives. One is that he's not looking for it. He stumbles upon the treasure. And the second guy is the merchant, and then that's what he does. He's looking for value. And then he finds like the pearl of of ultimate value. And so it's interesting because like you pointed out, I've reflected on my story a little bit, that there's been times where I've stumbled upon, like God really doing something in my life. And then there's other times where, I was searching for the truth that I knew that God had, and I was searching for it. So it's interesting. But when you're talking about these parables, are you speaking of like individual parts of our journey, or would you consider them like finding Christ, like initially?
I think it's finding Christ initially, but I also think that there will be micro versions of that throughout, because there's that's the process of what we call sanctification, which is be purifying or being set apart. Like that's a process that happens as time goes on. You find out things that are no longer congruent with life in Christ, that are no longer, they just don't make any sense anymore. And a lot of times there's things where you would have never thought to get rid of it, and you find out, oh man, that does not belong. I didn't even know. God's gracious in that way. Like he's slow and compassionate and long suffering with us. He waits with us, and he shows us when we need to know it, sort of a thing. And then the Spirit in us kind of like is unsettled with things that we didn't used to like think about, because there was while the Holy Spirit was working on us, it wasn't necessarily, it didn't have our ear in the same way, I guess, where we're like, I don't want to grieve the Holy Spirit in my life. I don't want to grieve those parts of me. I hate that feeling. I don't want to have any sort of like lost connection at all. But I think it's speaking of an initial big move to say, I've decided to follow Jesus. No turning back, which we all have to make that decision. We'll find out though, that you have to like reaffirm that decision a lot of ways. But I think it speaks to, even like we're looking at the story, I think Paul, in some ways, you could say maybe he was like the pearl, merchant. Yeah. But I think maybe he wasn't, and it kind of like hit him out of nowhere, where he thought he wanted it, but was on his own terms in a sense. Like, and he saw Jesus seemingly, or at least saw many of his, there's a lot of different theories on how all that happened. Saw some of the early disciples being martyred and being part of getting them martyred. And that wasn't enough. He needed an actual, like, in your face, like, here you go, full on meeting with Jesus. But like, you have the true seekers, like maybe the Ethiopian eunuch, and there's multiple different people who are like, what must I do to be saved? Like, what do I need to do? How do I find, they're literally looking, and there are people like that where you're like, I don't know what's right. I have no idea. I mean, I feel like I've been both men in this story, like, to some degree, where there was like the initial, like, wait, is there a treasure out there? And then you go, well, what is it? Like, who holds the key to the treasure? Is it this religion, that religion? Is it a way of thinking? Is it anyway? So I do think that there's biblical examples of both of these types. The ones who stumble across it and go, oh, I had no idea, but now I'm in. Or those who have been looking and looking and looking for a really long time and have found like little pearls and little things that kind of hold you over for a minute. But then when you find the real thing, you go, oh no, all those other things are gone. I consider all of that like worth nothing compared to following him. So I think that's cool. That speaks to everybody.
Yeah.
And to some, because we're one or the other, really, I think. And God can reach both.
Yeah,
which is like really cool.
Yeah, it's interesting to kind of like break down the parable and to think it through and what it would be like actually experiencing those things, because I think the man who stumbles upon the treasure, he doesn't know how much the land costs. Probably, he
doesn't matter.
He's gonna. His decision is like, I know there's treasure here. Now I'm gonna go and I'm gonna find who the owner is. I'm going to find what the price is, and then I'm going to start to situate I'm going to sell everything that I have so that I can purchase it from him. Whereas the merchant, he's looking for these opportunities. He's looking for something. He's looking for maybe this exact thing. And he has the price in mind because he is now going to go sell his things to purchase it. So that's kind of, maybe this is too far, but it is interesting how that, and even in that, it matches, there's a similarity, because when somebody's searching for truth, they're searching for the gospel. They may not know it's the gospel when they're looking for it, but in that pursuit, when they find it, they know already what it's going to cost them. But the person who stumbles upon it has to discover the cost.
Right.
And maybe that's not always true, but I do think that there is a general kind of, when somebody's searching for it, they're already at some level of counted a cost.
Right. Like, I'm going to go wherever truth leads me. Sort of a thing.
Yeah. They've already committed to that.
Yeah.
And then when they find that it's Christ, they're in.
They're in.
Whereas somebody who stumbles upon, wow, you think of those stories where somebody experiences Jesus, whether it's by chance or, by chance, but they see that their friend gets saved and they're, man, I really want, I also want to experience this change. And so they kind of stumble into it that way. They have to then discover by pursuit, they have to discover the cost of discipleship or the cost of following Jesus. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point. But the main thing is they both sell everything.
Yeah.
And like, that's one of they both sell everything. They both put everything, whatever value, whatever emotional, we don't realize how emotionally attached to things we have. Like, like people who grew up really poor, are more likely to be hoarders because it feels like security and safety. People who, grew up with like maybe kind of a messed up childhood, they have like one thing that reminds them of a good time, and they hold on. And it's like those are the things you like will never want to let go of or anything like that. And when Jesus calls us, we find that to be the case too, where there's things in our life that we think we need to hold on to. He's like, but if you just like release that to me, I will cleanse that whole thing. I will work through that whole thing and give you something far beyond what you think it is now. And I think we talked about this on Sunday, but I think it's worth mentioning here is that a lot of it's not like it's like he takes away everything that you have and everything you are, and then you're done. I think he takes a lot of it and then he gives it back to you reordered a lot of the time. You know, the things that gotta go, they gotta go because they're causing you destruction anyway. It's not good for you. It's not helping you. Like, just get rid of that. Like, you might like your body might like kick and want it and, you know, have like withdrawal for it or whatever. Who cares? It's got to go. Like, that is not good. But then there's other things that are like maybe good, but they're not good if they're valued higher than Christ.
Yeah.
And so, I just think that's worth saying because I do think people think, oh, Jesus, if I become a Christian, because I believe Jesus is really who he said he is and all these different things, and God's revealed himself to me, it means I have to give up my whole personality and everything I am. Yeah. And I'm like, that was not the case for me. I think it actually like enhanced everything. Like, but it took away parts of who I was and things I said and stuff like that. But like at my best, when I'm like tight and like following Jesus and I'm like, you know, Holy Spirit's leading and guiding, you're not less creative, you're more creative. You're not less funny, you're more funny. You're not less like personal, you're more like, there is no robotic element to that. But I'm at peace, which actually makes you more yourself when you're more at peace because Christ is king, not you.
Yep.
So
it reminds me, I don't know if did you ever do the Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace program?
Yeah, a little bit of it. Yeah.
When me and
I did something else, Crown Financial, but then really? I looked at some of the Dave Ramsey stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah. I know a lot of people have been through a Financial Peace University or whatever they call it. When me and Casey were first married, it was gifted to us. The people who ran the program at our church were like, here's our wedding gift to you. And it was like, I think we started it before we were married and got married in it. And, you know, there's a lot of good principles in it, but there was couples that were there that were 20 years into their marriage and well into like a significant amount of debt. Yeah. And I think that there's a similarity here because, you know, one of the things that he tells you is like rice and beans, there's a temporary cost to the financial freedom that you get. And I think there's what you're talking about here is that person that's selling everything, he might have to sell the shirt off his back, but he's not going to stay shirtless forever, right? Because he's going to have treasure, right? The idea is that there might be even exponential cost initially, and that's, you know, and I think that like when a lot of people come to Christ, sometimes they are friendless for a while. I know that was, you know, true for me, and that was true for there. In the beginning, it was a struggle to find community where people were kind of taking their faith seriously or they were living by the same kind of principles that I was living by. And so it takes time where that is a cost that you pay initially, but you're not going to be lonely forever. You do find community. You do find it, you know, those sort of things. So I think that's maybe an example of what you're talking about. Because, I mean, in the financial illustration, the cost of not having any debt, you're going to have to put in a lot of effort to get there. But once you're there, you're financially free. You're not in bondage. You're not like making, you know, credit card payments constantly. So, but the cost is worth it eventually. Yeah.
And if a lot of times you find is that when people are in debt, they self-soothe by buying more junk. Yeah. I just want to feel good for a second. Yeah. And you realize what they call it, like retail therapy or something like that, where you go and buy things to make yourself. And so it actually just keeps compounding. Yeah. Whereas if you learned to be free and disciplined, there's like a really cool feeling of like, I'm not owned by anything. I'm not controlled by anything. Also, I can live on rice and beans. I can do that. Like I'm not a slave to the system. I'm not prissy and weak. Like, you know, like it's like, I'm good, you know, this is a little different in that sense, but the same, like, discipline leads to freedom. And I mean, like what you were saying, it might cost you something. It may always cost you. I mean, it will cost you
it has
something.
to, yeah.
It will, like, it's, what did Jesus say? Like, take up your cross and follow me. But we mentioned too, he also said that his yoke is easy and his burden is light.
Yep.
So like it is this weird contrast of you're taking up your death instrument and you're constantly dying to yourself, which is never comfortable. Mm-hmm. Yet there's an easiness to it because you're not doing it alone, because he's shouldering the load with you. Whereas you might have everything and you're not easy in the soul. You might have everyone carrying everything for you around you. You have servants everywhere, but your yoke isn't easy and your burden isn't light. It's heavy. So the king, I think this might be worth saying, the treasure, because you might think, oh, this is the immediate treasure is, oh, this is health and wealth. This is all the, if I just follow him, everything's going to be good. You got to understand what the treasure is, like what the pearl is. It's more than financial things. That's an illustration to point to something way, way deeper. Yeah. And God can and does bless in those ways. You see it throughout the scriptures, but that's not all he does. He also puts us through seasons that teach us who he is, who we are, all of that. And so, yeah.
Yeah. The value isn't in the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I
like if I follow Jesus, if I like give everything, then he'll give me everything back right away.
Yeah.
So like if I tithe every dollar I have, then he's going to give me tenfold immediately, which, I mean, categorically people who are generous with their money are generally more blessed. It just is, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Like it is a thing.
Yeah.
God, I think, does literally honor that. Yeah. But it's not like a formula to where you could take it to Vegas, like a Vegas type thing. It's like you're going to get 10% return on all of this kind of stuff or whatever it is. Or, the Malachi, I'll fill your storehouse is sort of a thing. And even that, it's based on a cheerful giver, someone who's doing it not with some weird ambition or anything like that, but like out of like this like looseness of, I already sold it all. I'm just kind of like, everything here is not mine, which I think is really what he's honing in on. All the things that you hold on to so tightly. And we use the rich young ruler as, where he went away bummed because he had so much he couldn't let go. Yeah. So, yeah.
It's stewardship. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's, I remember in my spiritual journey learning that word. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Like, I don't work for an airplane. On an airplane.
Yeah, but the idea of being faithful with what God gives us, and you can see that even in the illustration here, and I think there is seasons where God calls us to kind of be light on our feet and adapt and to move with it, because I even think as Christians that we can be in the position where God wants to call us to a closer to him, a deeper faith. He wants to kind of till the ground of areas of our hearts that are kind of have just been sitting there. And I think the illustration of the parable can also apply to that, though probably initially didn't mean that.
Right.
But the truth is still there.
Well, it's like kind of like the echoing effect of it, the reverberations of it, like that you're going to have to find this to be true in everything.
Yeah.
Cause I got saved when I was like 18, and then really started to like, things started changing when I was probably like 19 or late 19s or something. But then I had kids when I, later, and then you have to learn to like release your kids. Then you have to learn to or you get married and you have to learn to release your wife, and you have to learn to release you realize you don't own anything. And you're in ministry, like the church isn't yours. None of that stuff is yours. It's all like a reminder of like, no, I'm continually keeping it all going back to you, and then letting you filter it. Like, like I give it to you and then you filter it and you give me what I need back.
Yep.
The raw materials are good, but a lot of times like you need it to be processed for it to be actually useful for you. and if it's processed by Jesus, like processed by like the Holy Spirit, like then things are really more beneficial for you in the long run, you know? So
yeah, that's good.
like if you find out like rock and like, do you know, like you're looking like, oh, this is got gems in it. Well, you got to get them out.
Yeah.
Like, like it might not look like anything at first. You got to get it out and you got to polish it and you got to like do all this stuff to it to make it make sense, you know? And then like I like watching Gold Rush sometimes, the show.
Yeah.
And it's wild how little gold they really pull out of the ground. And they'll like they'll take out like a whole like giant hillside or a giant, creek bed.
Yeah.
And they come out with like this much gold out of it.
Yeah.
But that gold is worth like millions of dollars, or something when it's all said and done, how much gold they can actually pull out of it, depending on the ounces at the time. It can be worth so much, but to get it, it's got to go through their initial machines, which is like cleans the rocks, gets rid of the big rocks after they've been cleaned. Then it's sifted into the next one, and it's got the sluice box, where things are settling in, and then water goes over. It has these riffles that are able to hold them and keep them. They got to stay clean, or else if it gets kind of clogged up, it'll start pulling everything out, and you'll have gold washing out the back end, and that's devastating. And then finally you go and you clean out these mats, and then they got this little micro machine thing that, vibrates, and it ends up settling into all the little spots, and you pull it all out and you go, this is what we gained out of this, but it was worth way more than you think. All of the heavy equipment, material, diesel, everything they got to do to make it happen. You ended up with a season where you made $5 million in profit or something like that. But it looks like very little, and it took a ton of effort. It had to be processed. And so if I were to go out there and go, there's gold in these hills, I mean, I don't know how well that's going to go, like going out with a little pan. Back in the day, there was enough where people could just pan it and come up with it. But now it's like, it takes a lot of effort to pull out the right things. What God is saying is like, let me do that for you. Like, you just give me the raw material and I'll help you work through that. But you might have the tendency to go, there's gold in here. Don't touch that. That's what's worth nothing right now, because you can't even get it out.
Yeah.
And if you're out there with a shovel, good luck, especially if you don't know what you're doing. And ultimately the whole idea of king and kingdom is we know what we're doing less than we think we do, but God knows.
Yeah.
So
and submitting to his will.
Yeah.
Have you seen, this is fascinating. It's on to what you're talking about. I saw just recently a video of a jeweler, and they have this special service because they're making jewelry and they're shaving, like rings and stuff like that. A lot of it goes into the industrial carpet that they have on the floor. And this jeweler must have been there a really long time, but they have a special service where they come in and they'll redo the carpet. But the guy will he'll take out the carpet very carefully, and then they bring it to a place where they burn down the carpet, and they get all the gold out of the carpet.
Oh, yeah.
And they make like, they distill the gold, and the guy, it was pretty cool. It was like $40,000 worth of gold that came out of his carpet. But you couldn't see it because it's all mixed in there. But they, it's a special service that I guess this must be normal in their industry, where they, I'm assuming, where they take it and they just very carefully take it and they melt down the carpet, and then they just get the gold, and it's a whole long process. But like from the, it just looks like old carpet from the.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
And somebody could easily just throw that out.
Yeah. You wouldn't know.
But like, I mean, what is it? It's like, his gold was like $5,000 an ounce. So it's like 8 ounces.
It was like
it happens fast. Yeah. You can get a lot really fast.
Yeah, it wasn't that big, but I mean, it's so expensive. So.
Right.
But yeah, no.
But that was to be thrown out.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. We just don't know. We don't know what needs to stay and what needs to go, even, So it's like, somebody help me process this thing.
Yeah.
We do that with friends too. We're like, dude, I think I'm losing my mind. Can you help me process this? And they're like, oh, that's actually not that complicated.
Yeah.
You're just kind of, you got weird attachments here, weird thinking here. Like, let me help you process this and you know, you go, oh yeah, that was actually way more simple than I thought it was. But I don't know if I ever could have got there on my own, you know? So
yeah, I've had those experiences too, where I think that's what faith is. Faith is it's not that you don't know like you don't know, but you are trusting in a way. Like you know, I've had it where people will point something out to me, and then I have to trust what they say over what I think.
right.
And then I have to allow their judgment to guide me, because I kind of have to surrender the fact that I don't know everything, and that they see something I don't, and I've seen that to be evident. And so I'm gonna trust my friends,
Yes.
and they say this, you know, they say this person's this way, I can't see it. I'm gonna choose to trust this person, and those moves. That's essentially what we do with Christ.
Yep.
And, you know, God's word, we say, wow. In some cases, we're like, that's true. I can see that clear as day. And other times we read God's word and we say, man, this is tough, but I'm going to choose to walk, and you're going to be my eyes, and I'm just going to move in the direction that you say. And I think that, you know, just like these parables, at the end of the day, whether that's our lifetime, or sometimes we do actually get to see it throughout our life. At the end of those seasons, we do see that his judgment and the things that he says are much, much better, much more worth it, even with the temporal suffering sometimes, that it does at the end of the day, it's a better deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
If you like look at it from this perspective, I think that's the point, is to go, oh, it's a no-brainer. Like to give up a little treasure for like an unbelievable amount of treasure, or to give up all these other things you have for something that has like infinite value.
Yeah.
Like it's a no-brainer, but like it would still be difficult because it's everything you had. It's like your whole identity is kind of tied up in that. I used the example of like getting rid of our car, or of getting our Highlander.
Yeah.
We had that, we bought it in 2011 and we just got rid of it last year because it was just dying. And now we have a newer one, like it's still a used one, but like a 19 Highlander. And it's worlds apart better car. I mean, like just, but something about leaving that car there was really sad, because you like, I brought home 2 of my babies in that car. Like we went on trips and camping trips, and like there's something about, even though you're like, I've just traded up so much, there's something about like the attachment of your things, your stuff, that's like, I don't want to trade it, but I have to. There is something where you're like, I don't want to get rid of this thing in some sense, but you also like realize how much greater it is to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And you need to get rid of it so that you can get the other thing, you know, trade it in or sell it or whatever. I think that's worth thinking through, is to know it is always going to cost you something, especially when it's saying you're everything.
Yeah.
Everything is like nothing untouched, like you surrendering it all, because anything you don't surrender will become a sticking point, and it will, you know, if you have a rock in your shoe, it's going to bother you at the very least if you don't deal with it, or it's going to turn into like a nasty blister that tears your feet up.
Yep.
I mean, and the longer you go, the worse it'll get. So, yeah.
What do you have any? Probably in closing, this is maybe my question for you. That person that maybe is the merchant that's on a journey and that's searching, what would you say to that person? Like, how would you encourage them on their journey?
Yeah, I think I was in a sense on that journey, where I did believe there was something going on in the world. I'd grown up in a Christian home, but I also was like this is a question a lot of people ask, is like, how could I have somehow ended up in the right one? Like the right kind of, and,
Valid question.
What?
Valid question.
Yeah, it is, like, cause it's kind of seems audacious to go on. Yeah. Of course I'm right. I'm right about everything. Everything's good. That's a place of humility. I would say though, like I took a lot of refuge in the seek, knock, ask section at the end of the Sermon on the Mount, where I was like, if you're there, just, reveal yourself to me, show yourself to me. And it's like, if this is real, I'm down. If not, I'm probably going to try and blow this thing up. But like, if you diligently seek, he meets us. He won't hang you out to dry, and he's a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. So I think when we hear the word seeker, sometimes it gets tied in with like, the churches where you're kind of like, you want everyone to feel good about everything, or like a message that's not really the gospel. I mean, this is the gospel. Give up everything to gain infinitely more. A lot of when you hear seeker, you hear, you don't have to give up anything. Just sign this and you're good. Like say these words and you're good. I'll say like, for the true seeker, if you really are looking for what you think you're looking for, or whatever, it has been infinitely better than I could have ever imagined. Life is super complicated. It is messy. It is hard. There are seasons of really good and seasons of really, really hard and even bad. But the gain has been so much greater than anything you lose in the process. And as you look back, you don't wish you gave up less. You don't wish you would have kept more. You wish you would have gave up more. You wish you would have like learned earlier to let go of that part too. And all the stuff you kind of let stick around, and like the rock in the shoe, just like release and just know God has been so gracious and kind with me and my family. And you can look back and see, man, this has been really cool. So if you're a seeker, and you find, don't be afraid that you found. I think there was some degree of I felt like I was nervous to find too. Like I wanted to, but I was also like nervous as to what that meant, because it's like, a lot of like my identity was like I was funny and wild and crazy and like I'd say anything and anytime. And so it was like a lot of like who I was and what I probably gained validation. Is that going to be allowed to remain, And some of it was absolutely not, but some of it became more powerful because now you can actually use parts of your mind and your way of relating, especially initially with students. They resonated with that. Like you could hook them with like being wild and crazy, but like bringing truth. And so anyway, I wish I would have gave up more and held on to less. And if you find him and if he finds you both, do it, walk through the door, give it up. There's no comparison at all to following Jesus. And so, the treasures aren't immediate. I've been insanely broke at certain periods of my life. I've been, endured serious, crazy hardship and sleepless nights trying to figure things out. But he's also showed me he was there, and he's also showed me he's there in the good seasons too. So, that's the treasure.
That's awesome.
God with man, relationship restored.
Yeah. And
then like being able to be part of what he's doing. What's better than that,
Yeah. Yeah. What's a higher call than?
No. And that's kind of what we said with the Mother's Day part, where we were like, hey, look, this isn't a Mother's Day message, but like, hey, moms, don't worry about having the most like picturesque, like cultivated experience for everybody else to see it. Who cares about any of that? When you're old, no one's going to be like, look at the videos you made that like made it all look perfect or whatever. No, it's going to matter. Like what you truly believed is what you'll truly invest into your children. And they'll be stoked about that. So
that's good. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, till next time, huh?
Till next time.